Picture this, you're drafted first overall as a quarterback, and overnight millions of fans expect you to fix a franchise that's been losing for years. One moment you're walking across the stage with the world calling you a savior, and a few years later you might be on your third team or out of the league completely. Since 1970, 29 quarterbacks have been given that spotlight, so how often are they actually worth that number one pick? In this video, we're going year by year through every single one of them to see who became a legend and who vanished from the game. Starting with Terry Bradshaw, who was literally trying to go fishing on draft day because he didn't think he was going to get picked so high up. His dad made him throw on a jacket when Pittsburgh called to say that they were taking him first overall. That confidence boost did not last long though. His rookie year was a complete mess with 24 interceptions and only 6 touchdowns. It was looking like a rocky marriage, but talk about a comeback. Bradshaw, who, by the way, called his own plays for his entire 14-year career, won 4 Super Bowls and 2 Super Bowl MVP awards, while also being inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1989.
Turns out it was a perfect marriage because the proof's in the pudding. The guy's got more rings than a married pimp.
Jim Plunkett was called the best quarterback prospect ever by UCLA coach Tommy Prothro, but after 5 years with New England, he got traded. He went to the 49ers, who cut him after 2 seasons, and he seriously thought about quitting football entirely before the Raiders threw him a backup job. When Dan Pastorini got hurt, Plunkett stepped in and somehow took the Raiders from 0-2 to a Super Bowl championship in 1980.
Because without Jim Plunkett's expertise and guidance, you could really build a good case that maybe those 2 Super Bowls might not have actually happened.
Then, 3 years later, they won it all again. New England and San Francisco fans would certainly consider Plunkett as a bust, but Raiders fans have to be thankful for him bringing home the Lombardi Trophy 2 times. Moving on to 1975, the Falcons actually traded up to number 1 just to get Steve Bartkowski, and you know what? In a way, they got their money's worth, even though things were very up and down with him. In 1980, Bartkowski led the league in passing touchdowns with 31, along with having the most game-winning drives by any quarterback. This guy played 11 seasons with knee damage so bad, he literally had 0 cartilage left between his bones. He went through 11 knee surgeries, but still got Atlanta their first ever playoff win and made the Pro Bowl 2 times. Now, John Elway is exactly what every NFL team is hoping for when they get that number 1 overall pick. Minus the mind games anyways. Because he straight up told the Baltimore Colts when they drafted him that he would rather play baseball for the Yankees than suit up for them. Baltimore had no choice really but to trade him to Denver, where he started to show why he was worth all that drama in year number 2. Elway's clutch factor was out of this world. In 1985, he led the league with 6 fourth-quarter comebacks and managed to lead the league in that category twice after that.
I remember the drive. I remember watching the drive on television, but to experience it and be a part of it is something entirely different.
He carried teams that had no business being in Super Bowls and got them there through pure arm talent and willpower. Sure, he lost 3 early on, but finally when he got Terrell Davis running the ball, he went out on top with back-to-back championships to finish off his career. Next up, we've got Vinny Testaverde, who played 21 seasons for 7 different teams, all while being colorblind. The story goes that fans were so mean they put up a billboard saying, "Vinny thinks this is orange," with an arrow pointing to a blue background. The Heisman winner from Miami was supposed to be the next big thing, but his second season was brutal with 35 interceptions, which is still the second most in NFL history for a single season. But this guy just kept grinding for over 2 decades, and he eventually became the oldest starting quarterback for a season at the age of 44 with Carolina, although Tom Brady eventually topped that in Tampa Bay. Testaverde's best year was 1998 with the Jets, where he led them to a 12-1 record as a starter and a first-place finish in the AFC East. He threw for 3,256 yards, 29 touchdowns, and just 7 interceptions. Unfortunately, they were knocked out of the playoffs in the AFC Championship game by that John Elway-led Broncos team. When Troy Aikman was drafted first overall in 1989, Dallas knew that they had something special. One of his biggest moments came in Super Bowl 27, where he torched the Bills for 273 yards and 4 touchdowns in a 52-17 beatdown. That capped off one of the best playoff runs that we have ever seen. 795 passing yards, 8 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions across 3 games. And sure, Aikman did have Emmitt Smith and that monster offensive line, but he was the steady guy who led Dallas to 3 Super Bowl wins, and his arm talent was legit. Nowadays, he's probably more famous for his Monday Night Football broadcast, but you cannot forget about what he used to do on the football field. The Colts traded away 2 players, including a 6-time Pro Bowler at the time, along with a couple of draft picks to move up and grab Jeff George first overall. But before the 1993 season began, he refused to report to training camp, which isn't exactly what you want from your starting quarterback, or your number 1 overall pick for that matter. He got traded to Atlanta the year after and actually led the NFL in game-winning drives in 1995, getting them into the playoffs. But those attitude problems always came back to bite him in the end. It was so bad that he actually got into a screaming match with his coach on live TV, which you won't be surprised to hear this, but it got him suspended. And even though they said it was overblown, he still left for the Raiders the very next year. And the funny part is, even though they couldn't win games, George still led the league in passing yards during that first year with Oakland. So we all know Drew Bledsoe as the guy who got injured and replaced by Tom Brady. But did you guys know that the same hit almost ended his life? I mean, he could have died without emergency treatment.
Yeah, if they let me go home, I would have died. I was bleeding out at about 1 liter an hour internally. And by the time they got me to the hospital, I was out.
Before that moment, he was a Pro Bowl quarterback. New England basically drafted him to save their franchise, and he did a solid job at that for almost 10 years. His second season, he led the NFL with 4,555 passing yards, although he also threw 27 picks. New England had him throwing the ball non-stop as he led the league in attempts for 3 straight years from 1994 to 1996. His biggest moment was in 1996 when he got the Patriots to their first Super Bowl since 1985, even though they ended up losing to Brett Favre's Packers. These days, Bledsoe loves trolling Brady on social media and making fun of his quote-unquote squeaky voice as a broadcaster. I mean, the guy has absolutely no filter, and it's pretty damn funny to listen to. Okay, we've had Elway, but as far as number 1 overall picks go, Peyton Manning might be the best of the bunch. Which makes it especially crazy to think that half the NFL executives actually wanted Ryan Leaf over him back in the day.
He's been, brought up by his dad. He's had great coaching. He's been in the pro system. He's as good as he's going to be.
One personnel guy even said that if his name was Peyton Jones instead of Manning, he'd be a 3rd-round pick because of his weak arm. Obviously, we now know the Colts nailed this pick. He knew offense and defensive schemes better than most coaches did. That prep work, along with his insane talent, got him 5 MVPs, 2 Super Bowls, and a bunch of records. When you watched him play, you just got a sense that he was elevating the entire team, and he could probably do it on any team for that matter, which you cannot say for most quarterbacks.
If you take him out the game, no disrespect to nobody else on the coast, but you make them a very below average ball club.
One of his biggest moments was in Super Bowl 41 against Chicago. Down 14-6, Manning came back to beat the Bears 29-17 and finally got that Super Bowl MVP. But honestly, his 2013 season in Denver might have been even better. 55 touchdowns and 5,477 yards with an offense that basically broke football. 1 year after Manning, Tim Couch was taken first, and you really can't draw up more of an opposite story. Tim Couch came from Hyden, Kentucky, which had a population of about 360 people when he was drafted. Couch set national high school records, but man, the Browns were just about the worst spot that any quarterback could have landed. Injuries wrecked his career before he really could figure things out, and now he's mostly famous for that jersey meme with all the Browns quarterbacks' names on the back. If we give Peyton Manning the award for best quarterback on this list, Michael Vick gets the most exciting. This guy completely changed what it meant to be a quarterback. He was also the first quarterback to rush for 1,000 yards in a season, hitting 1,039 yards in 2006. Then everything crashed with the whole dogfighting thing.
First, I want to apologize, for all the things that I've done and that I've allowed to happen. I will redeem myself.
He was sentenced to 23 months in prison, and his career was looking done at the age of 27. But Vick's Eagles comeback was unbelievable. In 2010, he threw for over 3,000 yards and 21 touchdowns, showing that he still had that spark. And that Monday Night Football game against Washington might be one of the most dominant performances that I have personally ever seen. That's the kind of game where everything just works and there is really nothing the opposing team can do to stop it. I mean, when the first play of the game is an 88-yard touchdown pass, you just knew it was going to be a long night for Washington.
Rolling and launching downfield for Deshaun Jackson, who accelerates, caught the opening play, and all the way for a touchdown.
But if Vic got derailed through his own character issues, David Carr got absolutely crushed behind what might be one of the worst offensive lines, if not the worst offensive line in NFL history. This was the first season for the Texans, coming into the league as an expansion team, and they let him get sacked a record 76 times as a rookie. The guy was sacked the most 3 out of his first 4 seasons in the league. You just can't develop when you're running for your life every single play. Carr had real arm talent and accuracy coming out of Fresno State, but Houston's front office basically threw him to the wolves. You can argue that we got robbed of prime Carson Palmer as well. He was putting together a really solid career in Cincinnati until the Steelers completely wrecked his knee. He was never quite the same guy after that. And I mean, can you really blame him? But he still managed to have a whole second career in Arizona after basically refusing to play for the Bengals and forcing a trade, and a stint in Oakland that's best to forget about. He made the Pro Bowl for the first time since 2006. It was cool to see that he still had elite skills when he had the right team around him and some actual protection. 2015 was the highlight of his time with the Cardinals, where he threw for 4,671 yards, 35 touchdowns, while leading the league in QBR and game-winning drives. We haven't had any draft day drama for a minute, so let's just move on to Eli Manning here, who was a Charger for exactly 45 minutes on draft day before getting shipped to the Giants. Eli is one of the weirdest quarterbacks ever. He pulled off 2 of the most shocking Super Bowl upsets in history, beating that undefeated Patriots team in the 2007 season, then beating the Pats again in Super Bowl 46.
4-man run. Eli throwing into traffic on the sideline. They had a rule and a catch by Manningham.
He was a 2-time Super Bowl MVP who somehow always stepped up in the playoffs, even though he was pretty up and down during the regular seasons. I mean, look at his record. Literally a 50% win rate with 117 wins and 117 losses in the regular season. And yet, he'll still probably get into the Hall of Fame because he's such a key part of NFL history. Alex Smith was such a smart dude that he graduated college in 2 years with a 3.74 GPA in economics and was working on his master's before even getting drafted. But his NFL start was rough. Smith was injured much more than the average player and also had to deal with 5 different offensive coordinators in 6 years before Jim Harbaugh finally figured out how to let him thrive. Smith turned into the ultimate game manager type of guy, getting teams into the playoffs, but never really living up to those first overall expectations. And then that brutal 2018 leg injury almost ended his entire career. But he was tough as nails and returned for one final season, winning Comeback Player of the Year. In hindsight, it's kind of weird thinking what things would have looked like if the 49ers went with Aaron Rodgers instead with that #1 pick. Alright, sorry Raiders fans, but this pick is just peak Raiders. It will never not be crazy to me that they picked Jamarcus Russell when they could have traded down and had Adrian Peterson, Calvin Johnson, Patrick Willis, Darrelle Revis, or Joe Thomas, all basically GOAT tier guys at their positions. Yeah, Russell could launch a ball 70 yards flat-footed, but he had about 1 million red flags. Then the guy held out for so long during his rookie year that he even missed out on week 1, didn't play until week 13 of that year, skipped mandatory team meetings to hit up Vegas, and got benched by his 3rd season after completing less than 50% of his passes. His coaches also gave him blank tapes to see if he was studying the film. Spoiler alert, he wasn't. Russell couldn't have cared any less. But you cannot say that same thing about the next guy on our list. Matthew Stafford spent over 10 years dragging awful Lions teams around before finally getting his ring with the Rams in 2021. This dude was making no-look passes and threading balls into tiny windows seem easy to do. His rookie year basically told you everything about his heart. Playing through a separated shoulder, mic'd up so you could hear him wincing in pain, still throwing the game-winning touchdown while he's clearly hurting.
Stafford sets, looks, now running back to his right. Stafford looking for somewhere to go, sets and throws. Oh! Last play of the game, takes the snap, rolls, end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions!
When the Rams got him in 2021, Stafford finally had the pieces around him to match that rocket arm, and he led them straight to a Super Bowl victory. If you ask me though, there is nothing compared to the connection that Stafford and Calvin Johnson had back in Detroit. They were a blast to watch. Now we're going to go from one Rams quarterback to another, and it's kind of weird to think how long Sam Bradford has been out of the league when Stafford is still contending for championships. After winning Offensive Rookie of the Year, Bradford's career turned upside down. Torn ACLs, shoulder issues, high ankle sprains, knee problems. This guy could not stay healthy for long enough to do anything. Props to him though, because he did make more money than most NFL Hall of Famers. Moving on to Cam Newton, and this guy became the only rookie quarterback ever to throw for 400 yards in his first game. Plus, he did it on the road, immediately showing everybody that he was something totally different. And then he went and did it again in week 2. At 245 pounds, he was trucking linebackers one play and dropping dimes the very next.
Whenever he first got into the NFL, everybody looked at him and said, if this guy figures it out, we're all in trouble.
His 2015 MVP season was awesome. Newton took the Panthers to a 15-1 record while dabbing on defenders and giving his touchdown balls to kids in the stands. The Superman thing, the swagger, the way he carried that whole franchise to Super Bowl 50, you just had to watch every single week. It's kind of a shame that he dropped off so fast after 2018, but he still had one of the best careers for a quarterback taken first overall. It only took one more draft to get another generational guy at the top spot. Scouts called Andrew Luck the most NFL-ready quarterback prospect ever coming out of Stanford, and he pretty much backed that up right away. He set the rookie passing yards record and dragged some pretty terrible Colts teams to 3 straight playoff runs through pure talent and toughness. That 2014 AFC wildcard game was the perfect example, coming back from 28 points down against the Kansas City Chiefs and coming out with a win. He was getting absolutely crushed, taking shot after shot, but still making crazy throws downfield. The shoulder injury that wiped out his 2017 season changed everything. When he came back in 2018, he looked great again, got the Colts to the playoffs and threw 39 touchdowns, but all the physical and mental wear had been piling up for years.
Hello. This certainly isn't how I envisioned this or planned this, but I am going to retire. This is not an easy decision. Honestly, it's the hardest decision of my life.
His retirement announcement right before the 2019 season shocked everybody, but it totally made sense for him. Luck was done with the constant rehab, done playing hurt, done with that whole cycle of getting injured and trying to come back over and over again. It's one of the NFL's biggest what-if stories, but you can't really blame the guy for putting himself first. Next up, we've got Jameis Winston, drafted first overall in 2015. Do me a favor now. Close your eyes and imagine the most consistent quarterback of all time. All right, now open up your eyes because Jameis Winston is not that guy. He made history in 2019 as the first NFL player to ever throw 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions in the same year, creating a 30 for 30 club that nobody wants to be in. Winston's 5 years in Tampa Bay were basically a highlight reel and a blooper reel all mixed into one. Perfect touchdown throws followed by easy pick sixes. The second Tom Brady became available, Tampa dumped him and won the Super Bowl. But if you want a motivational speech or a good laugh, Jameis is still your guy. Sometimes the number 1 pick delivers right away, sometimes they're a bust, and sometimes you get Jared Goff. He went 0-7 as a rookie and looked completely lost until Sean McVay walked in and basically turned him into a Super Bowl caliber quarterback overnight. When the Rams shipped him to Detroit for Matthew Stafford, it felt like they'd figured out his limits, but Goff has been killing it in Detroit with multiple playoff runs and even getting some MVP votes last season. The 2025-26 season is when the Lions really need to put all the pieces together and make a Super Bowl run, because the clock is ticking for Goff and he is not getting any younger. It's hard to top that for crazy journeys, but Baker Mayfield might just give Goff a run for his money. He walked on at Texas Tech and Oklahoma, won the Heisman, then planted that Oklahoma flag right at midfield in Ohio State Stadium, one of the most viral college football moments ever. Cleveland took him first overall as kind of a surprise pick, but when he started in week 3, he led a comeback win over the Jets in a big Thursday night game. After the Browns traded for Deshaun Watson, Mayfield got bounced around a bit. Many people thought he was headed out of the league in 2022 after his stint with Carolina, but then he put together one game-winning drive for the Rams that changed his entire career path.
Mayfield to the end zone to Jefferson. Is that possible? touchdown!
In 2023, he landed with Tampa Bay, where he took the Bucs to back-to-back division titles. And this past season, he threw for 4,500 yards with 41 touchdowns. It definitely looks like he's found his home in Florida. Kyler Murray became the first player ever drafted in the first round of both the NFL and MLB drafts, picking football over a potential baseball career with the Oakland A's. At 5 feet 10 inches tall, he was the shortest quarterback ever taken first overall, which started endless arguments about whether his height would hurt him in the NFL. He's had some great moments like the Hail Murray and the scramble where he called a touchdown from the 43-yard line.
Pistol formation here. It is Murray on the keep and design. Uh-oh! Kyler Murray! Turn on the afterburners. He's gone!
But it's still up in the air whether or not he's going to be a truly elite quarterback like some of the other guys on this list. One guy that you do not have those questions about is Joe Burrow. He went from being third string at Ohio State to transferring to LSU and having maybe the greatest college football season ever. That 2019 run with 5,671 passing yards, 60 touchdowns, and a national championship was so good that it made him the obvious first pick. Burrow got Cincinnati to the Super Bowl in just his second year, then back to the AFC Championship the next season. But he's already had 2 season-ending injuries and won Comeback Player of the Year twice, which shows both how tough he is and how much his body's been beat down. His 2024 season had MVP numbers, leading the league in passing yards and touchdowns, but Cincinnati still missed the playoffs because they just couldn't make a stop on defense.
Joe, that's one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch play. I don't like playing against him. Why? Because he's so poised.
Burrow's got Hall of Fame talent for sure, but you just have to wonder if his body is going to be able to withstand a whole career behind Cincinnati's shaky offensive line. Trevor Lawrence rolled into the NFL as the most hyped quarterback since Andrew Luck. He torched Alabama as a true freshman for the national title and had a huge winning streak that made him the obvious #1 draft pick. But his NFL start was rough under Urban Meyer's complete mess of a coaching situation. And even though he bounced back in 2022 with that playoff win against the Chargers, Lawrence still hasn't consistently shown the magic that everybody was hoping for. Jacksonville totally fell apart late in 2023 when they should have made the playoffs, and injuries have slowed him down since then. Now with Travis Hunter as yet another weapon to throw to, the Jags have got to be thinking that this will finally be Lawrence's breakout year. Bryce Young's rookie year was brutal, with just 5.5 yards per attempt and less than a 60% completion rate, going 2-14 as a starter. He got benched early in his second season, which was pretty rough for a guy they just drafted first overall. But the cool thing here is that he actually looked way better when he got his job back in the second half of 2024. His accuracy and decision-making started looking more like what made him special at Alabama. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm starting to feel like Young might surprise people in 2025. Caleb Williams rolled into the NFL as yet another quote-unquote generational quarterback, famous for painting his nails with messages like F Utah before big games and pulling in over $10 million in NIL money at USC. Chicago drafted him as their franchise savior, but his rookie year was kind of a mess. The Bears couldn't hold it together and fired their head coach and offensive coordinator mid-season. Williams got sacked a league-leading 68 times behind one of the worst offensive lines in football. He did flash that Mahomes-level stuff with crazy arm angles and some off-script magic every now and then, but it was hard to really judge how he's developing. He's going to need some real stable coaching and actual protection to hit his ceiling. Now we're on to Cam Ward, and he might be the most unlikely #1 pick in years. A 0-star high school guy from West Columbia, Texas, who started college at a smaller school named Incarnate Word. But this dude never doubted himself despite having just 2 college offers, grinding his way all the way up to starting for the University of Miami. We obviously don't know how his career is going to play out just yet, but it's for sure going to be interesting to watch, especially on a team that really has nowhere to go but up. So there it is, guys. Every quarterback taken first overall since 1970. Not many actually live up to the hype of that spot, but that doesn't mean the pressure gets any easier as time goes on. What do you all think, though? Is being drafted #1 overall really a blessing or a curse? Let me know in the comment section below, and if you want to see more videos like this, just be sure to hit that subscribe button.